Hi everybody, and welcome to the Q&A of My Fiona, the cast of incredible film My Fiona. Kelly Walker is the director, Ryan Garcia and Sara Amini. Um, Amini?
Yeah, you're right.
Amini, yeah. Welcome. Hi, how are you guys?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for such an amazing movie. Um, So, Kelly, can you tell us about it? And it's 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 about so many things at once. And so, first of all, suicide. It's such a taboo topic. I think still, right? And is it about that? Is it about sexuality? What is it about for you?
Yeah.
And for the casting?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about the gray shades of sexuality as well as the gray shades of grief. And kind of the idea that there is no, you can call it the 7 stages of grief, but that label isn't going to help you process something so horrific that you don't have training to experience. And I think the same thing with sexuality and bisexuality specifically. It is such an umbrella. And the idea that we are one thing that means it cancels out that we're not something else. I think it's about just like honoring that everybody's journey is their personal journey and their identity is theirs to decide what they want to do with. That's my take on the film.
Great. And so there are so many shocking scenes in it, and it obviously starts with the suicide, and she looks at her phone and sees a text message. Right. I was wondering the whole film, was it anything in the text message? Was it important, or what do you think?
Well, Sarah and I have discussed this. For me, it's important that we never know if the text had anything to do with it or not, because when people lose people to suicide, you never ever know the full story, and you have to find this way to survive this loss with putting a period after the question mark, because it just never gets uncovered. So the point of that was to kind of put the audience in the same place that that people who have lost people to suicide are in themselves. But Sarah knows what it is, and I know what it was.
Yes. I asked her actually after we shot that scene, just because I was like, I wanted to get into Kelly's head, and we hadn't talked about it before, but I had made a decision on what that text message said. And then I kind of approached her afterwards, and I turned out we had the same thought. So that sort of validated my character's choices.
Yeah.
Cool. And Ryan, was it important for you to know why, or did you make up something in your head about it?
About why the character of Fiona did commit suicide.
Yeah.
I don't think that, for me, the character of Alec, I think he knew that it was a gray zone. I think it was also too hard of a question to come to terms with, because to come to terms with it might actually mean honoring some of his own culpability and his own maybe even recklessness at choosing to prescribe antidepressants to a friend, a very close friend, rather than a patient who he may have a separation with. And so I think like even dealing with that would have been too much for Alec to handle, and rather than just stuff it down and move on and keep things at the even keel just to survive, you know.
Right. Because there is a scene when Alec is talking to Jane, and he says, I don't know why she did that, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off Ryan said about like the idea of that. I guess, gosh, that's another gray shade, everyone. The gray shade of therapist and patient relationships. and how delicate those relationships are, but how we kind of take advantage, or we don't realize the importance of this tiny little pill and what it can do to some that it might not do to others.
Right. And Kelly, in the film, there's a lot about therapy, a lot about like ADHD diagnosis and therapy in general, and the boundaries between therapists and friends or clients. That seems very important to you too, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for therapy, and I'm actually an advocate for antidepressants as well. I'm not an advocate for our system and how the system is set up to fail not only the patient but also the doctor. Actually, recently I got prescribed antidepressants for anxiety, and the dose within like the first week, the dose was really high. I felt like I was like this, and I called my doctor, and the reception was like, he's out of town for a week and a half. I was like, do I keep taking them? Do I not? She's like, I don't know. So I was like, okay. And I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel right. So I stopped. And no one followed up with me. When I called back a couple weeks later, they wouldn't tell me over the phone. They said I had to come in, make an appointment. They didn't have an appointment for like a month. And I'm like, this is literally what I'm trying to say in My Fiona. It's just like it's insurance. It's like we're just set up to fail. So I think the more we're having conversations, if we are on antidepressants, especially if we're on antidepressants, the more conversations we're having and the more awareness we are of like any change in mood and behavior, because it's not going to be your doctor that saves you. That idea that that idea that they're this knight in shining armor, just it ain't the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's great that you brought it up. So you have really incredible cast in the film, and can you talk more about how did you choose the actors and the whole cast of the film? How did you guys meet?
Yeah, we had an incredible casting director, Natalie, and she, we saw so many tapes, but actually I'd say 80% of the cast are friends of ours, other people I'd worked with or had been in acting class with or were just mates. Jeanette, Sarah, Ryan, and then a bunch of the smaller characters are all friends. Corbin came as a suggestion from a friend, and immediately I think I watched a show she was on called Valor, and I was like, there's Gemma. It was just instantaneous. And then Alahim, who plays Bailey, he came from casting, and I didn't know if we were going to find this little child that I wrote, and it came from my imagination, and his tape was, it was one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, that's exactly how I pictured it. So then it's the fear of like, what if, that tape was a coach getting him there? What if he can't actually do that? And then going into the room, into the callbacks and seeing him for the first time, and his work was absolutely amazing. And then the second part of, working with the kid is you're also working with the parents. So then it was having our producer go out, meet the parents while he was in the room with us. And I'll never forget, like my producer Tina came back into the room, and I stood and I was like, tell me. And she's like, they're amazing. And I was like, we found our Bailey. Yeah, I'll let these guys speak on it too. We were really fortunate with this cast.
But also April was someone who auditioned. We auditioned.
Oh my gosh, April, yes. Well, if she was here, I would be talking about it. Yeah, April came from, and again, it was the same thing. It was, there's Ruth, done, crossed it off the list. It was just everybody that showed up for it. Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else but in the roles that, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like Kelly said, I already came into it knowing Jeanette, and I didn't know her super well. We did know each other from like acting classes and stuff. So I remember us meeting and immediately getting each other's phones and texting and trying to build a deeper relationship. years of history, talking over what kind of music did you listen to growing up, and sort of finding common ground between us that we could then use in the film. And obviously you've seen it. I'm not in the movie physically a ton, but it was important for me to sort of permeate myself through the scenes, even though I was not physically present. So it was really important to do that through creating backstory and history and relationship. And because I knew Jeanette, that was so wonderful. We were able to click into that very quickly. And I didn't know Corbin. And we obviously you have limited time when you're shooting, but there were days, I remember there was a day where we were shooting photos, so that there would be photos of us and Elohim, who plays Bailey, around in the house and things like that. And so that was my big day. I think that was my big day to connect with Corbin and make sure that, that sort of relationship, in the limited time that we had, was still significant enough that she still felt that she was getting, pieces of me that she could use in the movie in my absence.
There's April.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, April. We're just talking about the cast.
I made it.
And
Yes, good timing.
How amazing the cast is.
Everybody.
Can you talk a little bit about that, and how was it for you to work on the film?
Oh, well, Ruth was such a rich character. And working with those actors was a joy. And also the script was so wonderful. It was just a beautiful experience.
Great. Thank you. Ryan, what about you?
I just wanted to comment on that photo day where we took all the photos. It's not credited anywhere, but I was.
I was going to say that you were the photographer. I wasn't
okay. I'll do it. I'll introduce myself. It's the classy way to do it. I was that on-set photographer taking all those photos. So it's really, really fun day. I think we were doing costume tests, or wardrobe tests rather, on that day as well.
Yes.
No, it was. I remember also getting to, since I'm married to the writer and the director, who are the same person, I got a chance to watch a lot of the tapes as well. And it was hard because there were people that really put their all into it. And, I knew Jeanette for so long because I had actually worked with her in an office at this acting studio. And then we were both teachers at the same acting studio. And so we had a strong friendship and relationship and coming from all that. But I also saw the tape that she made for her audition and talked to the person who she taped it with. And the person she taped it with said she had it on the first take, but she didn't stop. She kept saying, no, there's more, there's deeper to dig into. I can make a better tape. And it really showed in the work that she did, not only in the movie, but in that tape that was devastating to watch. I'm getting shivers right now just thinking about her work in it. So I just wanted to speak on that.
God, yeah, no, that tape was, and it's so funny because you hear as an actor, like, I think the biggest takeaway is like either it's yours or it isn't, and it's pretty clear, and it's not something you can't turn that on. It's innately going to be you. And Jeanette was literally living that experience in that tape, and it was like, all right, she set the bar, and it just no one got to touch the bar. Yeah.
Wow.
We're all thinking about that.
I know. I know.
We're always there. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention Jeanette and how important she was in the movie, how incredible she was, and her whole role. Can you talk about working? How was it, to work with her, for each of you, and what maybe do you remember the most?
I mean, Jeanette's the dream collaborator. She kept saying, I'm gonna take care of your baby, Kelly. She would call the film My Baby. And she's like, I'm gonna take care of it for you. you birthed it, but I'm gonna adopt it. I'm gonna raise it. And she was. You could see how important it was for her to make sure everyone felt like family, and she took a lot of ownership on that, on creating that space and advocating for the sound guy or the makeup artist or whoever. She was very much a leader on set. Mm-hmm. Jeanette is such a curious actor. There's no version of did I get it right. It's so much about she's a seeker. She wants to figure it out. We're in the trenches together, and so it made it so fun for redirect, because it wasn't like I didn't like what you just did just then. It's like, oh, what if we tried this? What if we do this next? Yeah, I mean, she's absolutely brilliant to watch, and even in editing. Sometimes you can start to hate your actors in post, but there was none of that for any of you. But I would love to hear what the actors have to say working with her, because I feel like that's such a different, intimate experience.
For me, Jeanette was just so generous. Every scene that I did with her, and every scene I watched her do, I could observe her generosity as an actor. And at moments when I had some insecurity, or if I was confused, she was right there and with support, which made all the difference for me. It was just so wonderful. She was really a singular. You don't find that all the time.
Yeah, Jeanette, on screen and off screen, is just this light beam of a human being, and she was radiant. And for me, I am always seeking trust. Trust is of the utmost importance to me in a scene with someone that you're working with, and she just inherently instilled trust. And so you can trust me, I got you, and that made it so that I could trust myself, and go on that ride with her on every scene that we were in together. Like April said, she's incredibly generous. Like Kelly said, she's incredibly curious. She is a leader in the sense that you don't want to be like Jeanette. Jeanette makes you want to be the best version of yourself. And I think that's what a leader is. And I think she really just exuded that. And I won't say anything else because it makes me emotional, but she's wonderful in every sense of the word, both as an actor and as a human being.
Yeah. I'd worked on another production also before this one with Jeanette, and worked with her multiple times in other just smaller scenes and rehearsals. But the one thing that, that just to add on to the truth that everyone just dropped about Jeanette is that she had no ego about her work. And if you wanted to play, she said, great, let's play. If she was in the middle of lunch and you came up to her and asked, can we run that again? Can we rehearse that? Can we try something? She would drop everything and say, yeah, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And get excited and dive into the work with you. And, it's just, she was such a dream to work with.
Thank you. And, it's so strange that the film is about grief and death, and then that happened. How did your film help you to deal with that better? Because there are so many monologues, there are so many conversations in the film about letting go, about grief. It's kind of like, I watched it twice, a year ago and now, and when a year ago it was so different from, knowing what happened. You watch it differently, and it's kind of like she's sending the message maybe of how to deal with it. What do you think?
Yeah. At first, when she passed, I was like, to be completely honest, I was like, I want nothing to do with this movie. I want to just get rid of it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. It's going to just, it makes her passing that much harder. And she passed, I think, 2 weeks before it premiered at Clear Screen in Australia. So it was like really, I didn't have much time between like going into talking about it and stuff. And then I realized two things. Actually, it was April's stuff at the end, that scene where she says, first thing you do when you get up, put your feet on the floor. That's the first win. Second win, she feeds Cookie. I have a bullet in the ginger. I'm like, that's the second win. And I started in the mornings just kind of reciting that to myself every day. And then the final monologue she says to Fiona, I started watching that part again. And I started realizing I was getting a lot of strength from it. And it wasn't, I was afraid of it because I was afraid of this feeling. But I think this feeling allows you to accept and sit in the grief instead of avoid it. And I know I'm an avoider of grief. I love to just, I'll deal with you in 5 years' time. And so I do feel lucky that we have this. And I also feel like it gives it somewhere to project all these feelings and all these things we don't know what to do with when you're just sitting with all that loss. It's a very restless experience. So getting to put it places and also share with people that have also going through or have gone through grief. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, having watched the film a few times now, since her passing, it's just also, and Kelly and I have shared about this, it's just, it's lovely to get to spend time with her.
Mm.
You know, it's like an hour and a half of just spending time with Jeanette because she brings all of herself to it. And so you get to see so many different sides of her. And it's heartbreaking, and it's also, I can still laugh and I can still enjoy the time. So I think it's really wonderful that this legacy exists so that, you know, we're able to spend that time with her.
Mm-hmm.
And April and Sarah haven't seen it yet. We'll be seeing it very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can't wait.
Exciting. Sarah, would you like to add anything?
Oh, yes. I feel, I feel the same way as Ryan. I feel incredibly lucky to now have the film as this sort of experience. Now we have these memories on screen and off screen, and we get to revel in her brilliance, and we get to be there with her. I can't wait to watch it and go back to where we were just a few years ago, and I could see how it could be hard to initially for Kelly to move forward with it, but I don't think that's what Jeanette would have wanted. So I'm glad that you did what you did and took the route that you did, because I feel like unanimously we would have been like, no way. Jeanette would have totally wanted us to have this story out there, and look at all the amazing connections that it's given, and people who have reached out and who have had experiences like this, and people that it's affected. And I think that's exactly what she would have wanted her legacy to be. So.
Thank you. So, Kelly, let's talk more about the relationship of Jane and Gemma. And you said a little bit about dealing with grief, and you're showing Jane, who's very emotional and cannot really deal with anything, and Gemma is the opposite of that, and the avoiding emotions, avoiding all that, and also how they really in their relationships evolve and how they become close. Can you talk about how did you develop that? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think I think love. For me, I guess I identify as bisexual, and I feel like falling in love can show up in so many different ways. I fell in love with my best friend in high school, and I didn't see that one coming. And what I loved about their story was the idea that in any other circumstance, these two women would never have been able to get together because of Fiona, but also because of Fiona is why they get together. And I kind of just wanted to explore the idea, is it real love? Is it trauma bonding? But more importantly, the idea that two people of the same sex can fall in love, and it doesn't have to be this giant thing that people love to make it. And kind of, I guess, yeah, just sitting in that and not making a movie about that, but that being a part of a film, about a part of the story. Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, the messiness and
and celebrating that surety and that you know, that area that I don't feel like we see enough of on screen, or we see it done in such a stereotype that that's what we take on with us. I mean, I didn't even know what bisexuality was when I was younger, because there was nothing in film that was reflective of what I was experiencing. Even when I was with this girl, I didn't even think. And it's like, I just want to see more characters like that on screen that aren't afraid to lean into that part of themselves and do it without judgment, and unapologetically.
Thank you. And that's great, because there are definitely not enough bisexual films.
I got another one,
Marina.
Marina.
Oh, you do? What are you working on now?
Well, there's another film with that goes into bisexuality. I was like, I'm not done with that yet. Like, that's, you know, I think I can put grief down for a minute. I think I'll just deal with that personally. But I'm really excited to keep exploring the characters, bisexual characters, and what it means in 2021, and what does it mean for a millennial who didn't grow up being able to identify, and how does that, you know, work today? Cool.
And so, what are you working on right now? What are your next projects, guys?
I have it's actually a limited series now called Vice Versa. That's about Edith Ide. Maybe some people might know who she is. She wrote the first magazine for lesbians in 1947, and she had to do it secretly because it was right when communism and vice raids, and no one was trusting anyone in America. Mm-hmm. It was actually illegal to write anything of a homosexual nature. And it's a very uplifting, fun story about just, you know, finding a place to belong. And sometimes you have to create that place for yourself. So working on that. That's kind of my main one at the moment.
Oh, wow, cool.
That's awesome. I am currently working on a Disney movie. It's the sequel to a movie called Stargirl. And so this is not going to be called Stargirl 2, but that's what I'm referring to it as. And Uma Thurman's in it, which is really fun. And wow. I worked on another film last month starring the amazing Diane Keaton, who is awesome. And it was directed by Katie Aselton Duplass. And so that should come out. Maybe both will come out next year. We'll see. I don't know.
Like working with her. I'm obsessed with her.
Oh my God. So fun. She's great. Diane is a ball of sass. Like, just curses like a sailor and is so funny. And I thought she was going to be like regal Diane Keaton, like, and she was just such a pain in the ass, but like in the best way, like hilarious. So it was a dream. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
I just finished shooting something called The Last Deal feature. And I think it's coming out in the summer or maybe the fall. And I've been working on a series that I co-created called Dating Until Death, about 60-year-olds that are back on the street. And it's been a lot of fun.
Love that. That's awesome.
Great.
I love
I'm
that.
working on a lot of VO stuff recently. I'm currently in a Nickelodeon show where I voice a multitude of characters that's coming out in September. I don't know if I can say the name of it yet. But I'm also in a movie that's coming out with Kenneth Branagh and Olivia Cook and William Shatner called Fireheart. I got to voice a fun character in that. So that's what's happening.
I love Kenneth Branagh.
And I'll speak for Corbin because her show, she's starring on a show on Stars right now called Run the World. And I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I'm loving it. It is so fun and uplifting. And it's so cool to see like giant billboards in LA with her
Yeah.
face. Like, oh my God, there she is.
Cool.
Yeah, so watch Run the World.
It's great.
That's so cool. I'm so excited for all of you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for answering all the questions and for coming here to talk to us. Good luck with all your new projects. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Marina.
you.